we've got the Georgia Peaches on, and we're going to be talking about the Georgia Senate 18th race that just happened this week and some remarkable results out of that. We've got a governor's race in Georgia, a lieutenant governor's race, a U.S. Senate race, and then there's always that little thorn in our side, Fani Willis, who I love to talk about because I think she is the biggest Fanny, and maybe phony. All those wrapped up in one in the room. We had our John Gordon Truth Dumbass Award for 2025, and Fani Willis was the winner. And she has some stiff competition comprised of Brad Raffensperger, Chris Carr, Kemp. Who else did we nominate for Dumbass of the Year? Oh, Josh Buffoon, who as I affectionately refer to him, probably just made our Georgia Peaches mad with that one. Sorry about that. But I don't like pettiness. I really don't like pettiness. And he is the godfather of pettiness in my view. All right. So with that, let's get to our Georgia Peaches, and now we'll get into it. Welcome, Debbie Dooley, and your cohorts there, Jackie Harding and Celestine James.
Good
Jack,
morning.
hey, welcome.
Good
And
morning. Good morning.
got a lot to unpack here. Georgia had just had a state Senate race in my home county of Bibb County, Georgia, for the vacated seat that John Kennedy left to run for lieutenant governor. And some pretty amazing and encouraging results out of that race. Which of you ladies would like to speak to that?
Okay, I can speak to this. I actually had made an endorsement in that race, and that was the gentleman, that McNeil, that's going into a runoff. And I think Josh McCoon, John, we're friends, but Josh McCoon's doing a good job. The Democrats targeted the state Senate race, state Senate District 18, and you had Republicans running, you had one Democrat running, and they thought they were going to flip the seat because of what happened. The Republicans are not good in turning out for special elections. And I know you had a House District Chair, District 8, Chan Jones, was actually working very hard to make sure Republicans turned out to vote because the Democrats had nationalized that election, and they had one Democrat running. There was state Senate, Congressional District 2, a lot of their chairmen worked. Everybody worked hard. Josh McCoon, the Georgia Republican Party, worked hard to make sure we turned out our vote. And you know what? 63% of the voters in that special election were Republican. They voted for the Republican candidate. So this was bigger than most folks know, because there was a lot of angst that our people wouldn't turn out. They did. Now I think February 17th is where we'll have a runoff between the Democrat and the Republican. And we need our Republican voters to turn back out again. You cannot take anything for granted, because Democrats are motivated. They want to give a black eye to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. So we've got to outwork them. And that was a big victory. It really was.
So the Republican candidate, let's see here, I've got the results. Got Eric Wilson, got 20.25% of the vote, but that doesn't really tell the whole story, because as you point out, Debbie, Republicans aggregated 64% of the vote. So now Wilson faces Lamario Brown, who got 37% of the vote, in a runoff. When is the runoff going to be conducted?
February 17th.
February 17th. So why are Republicans seemingly not as good at just grassroots fundamental politics, like getting out the vote, as the Democrats are? Where is the disconnect?
Well, I can tell you one disconnect is the fact that Democrats pour money into seats. They pay people to go door to door, and they're doing all that. And a lot of Republicans, a lot of GOP voters that are not active with their party, they, just don't get motivated to turn out for one race. And everybody involved in this race did a great job at turning voters out, and we uh, showed that that was still a Republican seat. Now, keep in mind, okay, that election, special election, was just to fill out the term of John Kennedy, who represented that district, who resigned and stepped down to run for lieutenant governor. So there will be another Republican primary. Voters have to go back to the polls, vote February 17th to vote for the Republican in that district. And then they'll have to turn out and vote in May. There's another qualifying to fill out a 2-year term. So, I mean, you're going to have, just like in Georgia 14, which Jackie can talk about when I get through running my mouth this morning. But, I mean, they're going to have to turn around again and show up in May. So you could have some of the Republicans that did not win could turn out and vote again, turn out and run again for a full term. But this is the nature of the beast. But Jackie can give you info on what's going on in Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat.
Well, we just talked to Rich McCormick about that very topic. Jackie, welcome to the show. And you're up
Thank
there
you, John.
in the 14th district. And Marjorie Taylor Greene just kind of surprised and shocked the world, I thought, when she resigned from Congress because she worked so hard to get there. And she walked into battle on so many fronts for the last 4 years. And I always admired her tenacity. And so it was kind of a shocker when she got mad and kind of a riff with the president. I always felt like, okay, they squabbled, they got in a little squabble, but they'll kiss and make up, just like Elon and the president have done. But Marjorie just said, to heck with it, I'm out of here. Kind of left y'all holding the bag, right?
Yeah,
Well,
she's auditioning for The View.
Good luck with that one. Another sinking ship.
I've been interviewed a million times about the feud between Marjorie and Donald Trump, and I likened it to parents who were separated getting a divorce and having faith that their friendship would mend. But you know what? I've grown up, and I've realized that there's more important things to think about. Honestly, I support both of them. I support my president, and I would be happier with Marjorie if she hadn't left before her term was up, because that opens up a whole can of worms that I don't think the normal person fully understands. Talking about getting out the vote and getting Republicans to show up, and why aren't Republicans better at showing up? Well, Republicans are in their homes, raising their families, working really hard, making repairs on their cars and their houses, and they're trying to survive, and they're trying to occasionally go on vacation and live a good, healthy life. And it's because of crazy policies. It's because of people resigning that need to finish their term. It's because of so many things that are making Americans, Republicans, have to basically set up residence at their polling locations, because you're used to, a normal person thinks of elections as when a president gets elected. Let's go vote in November. And oh gosh, we got the midterms. Oh, is it already time to vote 2 years after we voted for our president? That's what normal people think of.
Yep.
And you literally have to be in the GOP. You have to be an active member of your local Republican Party to know that all of these crazy things are happening. And we've got a jungle primary because the way it's set up in Georgia is when special elections occur, you have what's referred to as a jungle primary, and which means anybody, if you're a Republican, independent, libertarian, anybody can be on one ballot. So we have basically on March 10th is the special election date, the magical date to elect someone to fill out the remainder of Marjorie Taylor Greene's term. And we have got 21 people on the ballot. And 17 of those, 17 people on the ballot are Republicans. Let
So
that
who are
sink
who,
in.
out of those 17, who are identified as the front runners? I would imagine that you've got out of that batch, you got a lot of fringe candidates that are in it for
I mean, you
God
have a
knows
lot of
why.
you know what? You have a lot of good people, a lot of nice people, thinking they're doing the right thing, stepping up and running for office. I haven't met any of them, and I've been personally interviewing each one. And I'd say the front runners probably. I'd say Colton Moore,
Yeah, I
um,
agree.
Clay Fuller, Jim Tully,
Mhm, mhm.
a lot of other good people. I don't want to exclude anybody, so I'm sorry if I excluded, but those seem to be the front runners based on local events that we have and straw poll results and that kind of thing. But if you just think about this, and I'm sorry to dominate so much of the time, but if you think about this, our the 14th district is so Republican, it's so conservative, and so Christian. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be in Georgia, and but we have like 70% of the voters are Republicans. But if you have a 70% pie and it's cut into 17 pieces, and you have a Democrat pie and it's cut into two, we have a real possibility of having a Democrat be our next congressman. And that is terrifying to me. And so the GOP, no one else but the local parties and our district party, the 14th congressional district GOP, is doing all of it. We are doing get out the vote campaigns. We're raising money so we can do that. We're hosting forums so that people can come out and get to know these people. So tell you what, if you haven't done this lately and you know a local Republican Party member, thank them for their service, because no one pays our gas or our wear and tear on our cars or the time and treasure that it took away from our families to do this job. But we are working ourselves to death to get people out to the polls for this election, and the runoff is April 7th.
And Reagan Botts is a candidate for Georgia 14. She will be joining. She will be joining us shortly.
Yes, she's a good friend.
Good. She's another one. I think she told me she's raised $100,000. And Celestine, what's happening in your neck of the woods?
Okay, I sit in the 12th congressional district, and I am deeply concerned about the state of the Republican Party, not only in the state of Georgia, but the United States. But since let's just talk about Georgia, we lack leadership. We do. And that is my opinion. And I'm talking to a lot of people across the state. We need to have a clearly defined strategy to send down to all of our district chairs as to the direction in which we need to go. And it needs to trickle down to our county chairs. And so I'm seeing an absence of leadership. I am.
And you're speaking on the state level?
I'm looking at the state level. I'm looking at, and I will go ahead and say it, Josh McCoon.
Yeah.
Josh McCoon, we need to see you. We need direction. And it's not for some people, but for all in the Republican Party. There are different factions right now, and it's highly splintered. And so people want to talk about unity, but it begins at the top.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a seat at the table in Georgia Republican circles any longer. But I did once upon a time. I was the chairman of the Georgia Republican Foundation, And Billy Lovett was our chairman. And this is in the late 80s and early 90s. I'm not sure when y'all were born. You probably don't know who I'm talking about. But, you know, we did have cohesion. And David Schaefer was actually the executive director of the
Yeah.
party then, not the chairman, but he had a full-time job running the state office. And from what I could tell, everybody was rowing in the same direction, and we raised money. I mean, we raised millions of
Yeah.
money. That was really my job as the chairman of the foundation. I don't take any credit. Billy Lovett is the one who went out and uh, pressed the flesh and got people to give, and he brought national figures into Georgia, and we had dinners for them, and we would raise hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That's where the time, the energy, and the focus was. This guy, Josh Buffoon, has spent his time and energy engaging in petty politics and going after people that he doesn't like. Now, that's my perception. You all are free to correct the record if you'd like, and I'm open to receiving information because, like I said, I really am not that close to it today as I was. But, you know, I do think I probably represent the more rank and file because I'm not as intimately involved. So it's all perception. And that is the perception that I think that he has given off. And I don't like it. I wish it would change. And to your
I
point,
do as well. I do as well. When we get to the point and we're a leader, I want you to lead. It is not personal with me. But when we get to the point to where we start targeting people and making personal attacks and not standing up and speaking out against injustices in the party, and we allow it to continue because someone is your friend, I have a problem with that.
well, Celestine, I want to get to know you better. You're my new best friend because you and I see
She's
it exactly
everybody's
right.
best friend.
So
No.
let's talk about the governor's race and the
Okay.
U.S. Senate race. You got Burt Jones, Chris Do Nothing Carr, Brad most secure election ever Raffensperger, and Clark Dean. And there are a lot of people evidently that are gunning for Burt Jones because millions
Mhm.
of dollars are being spent on negative ads against Burt. I know Burt. I like Burt. He's a friend of mine. But
Mhm.
I'm one step removed because I'm down here in sunny Florida. What's going on?
I don't know, but Reagan Box is waiting to come on. She's in Georgia 14.
All right. Well, by all means, bring her in. Reagan, welcome.
It's great to be here.
And you're in Georgia 14, Debbie said? No.
Yes.
Oh, you are. Okay. So we got um, two people from Georgia 14th. Well, we talked about MTG and the congressional race. So I want to move us along and talk about the governor's race. What do each of you think? How do you make odds? And where's all this these negative ads coming from attacking Burt?
Well, I can tell you, I did research into that group, that top secret group that's violating Georgia election law because they're running these ads. We don't know who paid for it. I tied their group to two attorneys that had done work for Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush. So that lets you know. And the beneficiary of those ads is Brad Raffensperger. He's got the money to pay for them if he wants to. He is the beneficiary of those ads, and I think it's despicable. I oppose dark money in politics. If someone's running a campaign ad, I want to know who paid for it. I want to know. Voters have a right to know who is paying for that. So I think at some point we need to look really hard on a federal level about these dark money groups. And I think Bert's the front runner, so they're attacking him. Heritage Foundation, not Heritage, I think it's Wall Street Journal just came out against his plan to do away with the state income tax and and all that. But Reagan, Okay, you're working. Reagan, are you still with us?
Yes, ma'am. I don't know what's going on with the camera. I'm clicking on everything.
Okay, so you want to tell us, I know you, have you raised any money? Were you able to raise money?
Yes, ma'am. It's coming in every single day from all over the country.
Good. How much have you raised so far?
Probably including the last quarter of the Senate race, probably right at 50,000.
Okay.
And,
Because
and
I
I'm sorry,
switched over
Reagan is
mid-quarter.
running for what office?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, for the congressional seat in the
She's one of the many candidates in Georgia 14. So Reagan, I mean, I know you have a lot of grassroots support. So can you tell us about why you're running and what you would want to do? What separates you from the other candidates?
I really know the issues and I genuinely care. Like, I love people. I don't have to know you to love you, but I'm going to fight for you because I'm tired of watching the people in this country suffer, and especially the people of the 14th. I was born and raised here, and most people in the 14th don't have a lot of money. They're struggling to pay bills, and I'm watching poor policy just affect them on every level of their life, and people deserve better. And that's why I'm running. My three main issues are healthcare, affordability, and availability, public safety, and affordability overall, because 37% of Americans now are pushed into welfare, and we're pushing people out of middle class.
And that sounds good. John, you have questions for Reagan?
Well, I wanted to. We've covered the 14th pretty careful, thoroughly. I'm happy to spend as much time as you'd like, but I really kind of want to get to this governor's race. And you were saying Brad Raffensperger may be tied to the dark money, uh, potentially without evidence, but that's a suspicion, which is okay. But my question is, why is Brad Raffensperger anywhere still relevant in Georgia politics today? He went on 60 Minutes and said it was the most secure election in the state's history. And now we know that there were 170 ballot tapes that came out of Fulton County that were not signed and certified according to state law, yet he certified the ballots anyway. And my work on the with the Shealy folks and on the Jeffords and Satir case against the Fulton Board of Elections, I've seen the evidence. We know that 2020 was stolen, and I campaigned for Attorney General all over the state, delivering the evidence of why it was. We know that it was stolen. Yet Raffensperger, running against Jody Heiss, David Belle Sheriff TJ, claimed to have gotten 52% of the vote and won without a runoff. I met one kid at the University of Georgia and over 10,000 Georgians that I met who said anything nice about Brad Raffensperger. What the heck? Somebody help me understand.
Well, number one, I think you mispronounced his name. His last name is what he is, Rattenberger. Brad Rattensperger. Because he's a big rat. He is the Democrats' preferred candidate in the Republican primary. So, Brad Raffensperger, he's arrogant, he's egotistical. And I can tell you something else. If he's the nominee, he will lose because there's a lot of Republican voters that will not vote for him for governor. But I think Burt Jones is going to win. I think Brad Rattensperger will go down in flames like he deserves to do. And, I think it's good that we're going to go after him, Rattensperger. That's his name.
Celestine, what do you hear from over there in Augusta? Where are people lining up?
Well, I will say this about the 12th, and I want them to hear me loud and clear. They seem to have a problem understanding what it means to be a Republican in the 12th House. And so we have a lot of work to do. But there's a lot of support right now for Burt Jones. He is the front runner, and just a groundswell of support. So this is his to win, unless something else comes up down the road to where there's some irregularities. But right now, he is the front runner.
I agree. I don't even literally let myself think about that race. Obviously, I'm hyper focused on the 14th district congressional special election, but the governor's race, I mean, I see it as it's definitely Burt Jones's to win.
And then we have the Georgia Senate race to replace John Ossoff. Garrett Dooley, the governor's favorite.
Hey, if I could interrupt,
Yeah.
Speaking of the Senate race, so your guest, Reagan Boggs. Hey, Reagan, I saw her last night at our Walker County Republican Party meet and greet with the congressional members, or candidates rather. She actually started her political career running for the U.S. Senate. And so when Marjorie resigned, she stepped into the congressional race. So I think that would be something to, worth asking Reagan about, because I'd love to hear more about that and how that went. What made her decide that, Reagan, if you can hear me.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Loud and
Okay.
clear.
I don't know what's going on with the camera, and I'm sorry about that. But anyways, I originally wanted Marjorie's seat, and at the time she was doing good. No one could ever foresee what was going on with her and Trump and her resigning like she did. And I'd actually got a phone call that the day before she resigned that Trump was already vetting me. Trump and his team were vetting me to primary Marjorie. So it just seemed like a logical crossover.
Well, what do you suppose is driving Marjorie Taylor Greene? Does she have an act too?
Well, my personal opinion is she was wanting Trump to endorse her for either Senate or governor. He sent her the internal polling and it wasn't there. And he said, I can't endorse you for this. And she got mad and just kept retaliating.
Yeah, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and that's what we're seeing now with that. But again, hey, Marjorie will end up on The View or some other liberal harpy show because they like it, because she's attacking Republicans.
Do y'all think she's going to run? Do you think she's going to run?
I think she's going to run for governor. I really do think she's going to run for governor, me personally.
She'll lose bigly.
I know she'll lose, but that's why she's going on The View and CNN to make herself look more moderate and broaden her base.
So, Reagan, you were running for the U.S. Senate at one point. You switched to the congressional race. Is that what I understand?
Yes, sir. I've already went to 140 counties, probably put 140,000 miles on my two vehicles, and just been traveling the state the last nearly 3 years.
So what do you make of the remaining field? Garrett Dooley, Mike Collins, and Buddy Carter.
They all have massive holes, and I'm really afraid of all that. I don't think a Republican's going to win this race.
I did have a Republican who I know and respect tell me that Ossoff has done a very good job of constituent services. And I think that, when it gets down to the pulling the lever, people are going to say, well, what have you done for me? What have you done for me lately? And maybe that does favor Ossoff. It pains me to say that. There is nothing about him I like. He is an empty suit if I've ever seen one, but he is the incumbent. And as I found out the hard way, $1 million and 4 months of my life later, that eye is a very powerful thing when people walk into the booth.
Well,
Mike Collins is winning by. Go ahead, Celestine.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, John Ossoff is one of the candidates. He's never stopped campaigning. He's never stopped. And his people, they are Johnny on the spot. I spoke with a veteran this morning, and she's one of those people. She is Republican, but she said, he worked for me when I went to my Republican representative, he did not help me with my issues. But she went to John Ossoff, and they went above and beyond in order to make sure that this veteran's situation was resolved. And so she says, I'm going to vote for John Ossoff. Now, she's Republican, but this man stays on military bases. He has his people. They're even going into Republican meetings.
Yep.
John Ossoff has his people going into Republican meetings, and they're being welcomed. This to me is just wow. And so when I look at our candidates right now, we don't have a Republican right now, still today, that can beat John Ossoff. He's still the candidate.
And I think the best candidate, you have Buddy Carter, who's got a lot of baggage the Democrats can run against. You have Mike Collins, who's got tremendous baggage that he will get trounced in November. But then you have Derek Dooley, who doesn't have a record. And so he doesn't have, there's nothing about him that Democrats, that the Ossoff camp can pick apart. Derek Dooley's part of the Kemp machine, and he has not spent. He has been focusing on raising money. They've got leadership in 159 counties, and then you have Buddy Carter and Mike Collins that have already started running campaign ads out there. Derek Dooley has not run any ads. He's been focused on raising money, getting support in the counties. So he doesn't have a record like Collins and Buddy Carter have that John Ossoff and the Democrats can pick apart and run ads after ad after ad against them. So I think Derek Dooley is the best choice. And you can watch when he starts running ads, when independent expenditure ads are run against Mike Collins and Buddy Carter. You're going to see a fighter that's out there ready to fight.
Well, he certainly got a great name to run for political office in
I'm
Georgia.
not related to him, but
but you like his last name, and so do I because I'm a big Georgia fan. All right, so we know that Kemp wants Dooley because he single-handedly anointed him as the front runner in the Senate race. Who does Kemp want in the governor's race? Who would be his favorite?
I don't think he's made a decision. I think the race Governor Kemp's pushing is the Senate race. So I don't expect, I mean, that doesn't mean he won't do it, but I don't expect Governor Kemp to endorse in the governor's race. I think Burt Jones has done a good job. And if I were to handicap it, he is the one to beat, because there's a lot of pushback against Brad Raffensperger by conservative grassroots, and you'll have a lot of the grassroots that will not vote for him if he is the GOP nominee, because there's a lot of bad blood that you can't go back on.
So I've always wondered about the relationship between Kemp, Raffensperger, and Carr. Seems like Carr is Kemp's puppet, from my perception. Raffensperger, though, is very different. He doesn't seem to be aligned so much with Kemp, but then again, I don't really know. How about you other peaches? What do you think? Celestine, Reagan, Jackie, how do you make book?
How do I make what?
How do you make book on the governor's race and where Kemp's allegiance would be?
Who do you think will win?
I think it'd be Burt. I really do think it'll be Burt. Like I said, I have a gut feeling Marjorie's going to try to jump in just to get at Trump for endorsing him. But hopefully Burt wins. I'd hate to see Raffensperger as our nominee.
Everybody would except Raffensperger's minions.
Jackie, do you have a perspective on this?
As I said before, I don't even think of anybody else as being in the race. I know that sounds crazy, but I mean it's Bert's to lose.
I agree.
I just don't. My brain only has so much. I'm I'm thinking about the special election, must win special election, and
Right.
but I do believe it's Bert's to win. I mean, I haven't really. That's like the one race that I don't feel like I have to work 24/7 to create a miracle, to accomplish. I think we've. I feel good about. I feel good about that race.
Well, we got the Georgia legislature starting in just a few days, and Burt Jones will be presiding over the Senate in there, so he'll have plenty of opportunity to get exposure as presiding officer of the Senate. What can we look forward to in this session of the Georgia legislature?
I think you're going to see a lot of maybe legislation passed to kind of stop what your favorite person is, Fannie Willis, what she does, some of the ridiculous things that she does. John, with Fannie Willis and her boy toy, Nathan Wade. So she was forced to testify, is being forced to testify before a Senate committee. And, a lot of that was Burt Jones doing. He has gone after her. She targeted him. And so things are going to be interesting about she's, having to pay now. Her office is responsible for having to pay the alternate electors attorney's fees and legal fees and all of that. John, you know a lot about Fannie. You've been on the front lines going after her forever.
Well, I really have not gone after her. I've just let the facts lead me.
Right.
Uh,
I mean, you have really been critical of her,
I have been
like
very critical
everybody.
of her, but not because I've never met the lady. I know nothing about her other than her public persona. I think she's arrogant. I think she's rude, and I think she disrespects the rule of law. She casts aspersions against every member of the Georgia bar, including myself, because lawyers already have a bad enough name. And here she is out traveling the globe on the taxpayer dollar through her boy, Nathan Wade. You call him her boy toy. But they made no secret of the fact that they traveled together to exotic places, and she was paying him exorbitantly through her office. So I think it is a fair inference to conclude that there was impropriety with taxpayer money. Now, Judge McAfee, who used to be her boss or used to work for Fonnie Willis, refused to hold her accountable and instead gave them the opportunity to go to the Court of Appeals. In other words, oh, this potato's too hot for me. Here, you take it. I'm not courageous enough to do my job. But he's the one who's going to have to rule on whether the
Yep.
conduct of Fonnie Willis did raise to the level of a violation of her duties as district attorney, whether it was unethical conduct. Now, the Court of Appeals found that she gave the appearance of impropriety. Some people are saying that's not impropriety, it's just the appearance, and the bar rules say that you have to violate a tenet of the bar rules, of which the appearance of impropriety is one of them. So I don't know why that wouldn't be improper conduct. What do you all hear?
I think the Georgia bar protects their own. I don't see I don't see them doing anything about her conduct. And just keep in mind, she had her butt handed to her in that young thug YSL case. It did not all turn out like she wanted to because she was so focused on a politically motivated witch hunt going after Donald Trump, going after the Republican electors. And I remember this is the hypocrisy of the Democrats. Van Jones is a commentator for CNN, and and not long, a few days after the election, or the day of the 2020 presidential election, that showed Donald Trump may end up winning till all the little votes came in. Van Jones wrote an op-ed saying that Pennsylvania should seat a slate of alternate electors so they could be prepared in case the election was overturned. Not
Mhm.
not one thing
Yeah.
was done about Van Jones doing that. They just go after the Republicans. So the hypocrisy is on full display in regard to that.
Well, Rob Pitts said that, make no mistake, the taxpayers of Fulton County will be the ones to pay the Trump and his 13 co-defendants if there is a finding that Fani Willis's office has to repay them their legal fees. Does that strike you as pretty arrogant and um, I don't know. It just really hit me the wrong way.
It seems to be that there's a lot of rules for thee and not for me, and rules for thee and not for me. And as long as these people keep protecting Fani Willis, that is because you have a lot of Republicans who are in bed with her, who hate Donald Trump. So as long as we have this dynamic, it will continue. She will continue to thumb her nose. Fani Willis will continue to thumb her nose at the legal system and do whatever she doggone wants to do. So until such time we acknowledge that this is so, and we put in place some changes and we hold people accountable, it will continue.
Yeah.
And we'll be sitting right here still talking about it. And this lady will probably still be in her office. And it's just like nothing changes. Accountability is not just a word that we need to toss out. We need to see some actions. We need to see people being dealt with legally. What are the repercussions of this? Because we know that Fani Willis, should be removed. She should still not be in office. So, but she is being protected. Those are facts.
We are a nation of inaccountability. I mean, look at Pam Bondi. We've seen nothing from any of that. We've seen no arrest or nothing moving forward.
Well,
Nothing.
that's a huge disappointment because
Yes.
Kash Patel promised us transparency. He promised that he was going to tell us the truth, and I share your concern. I don't think we've gotten the truth. A la Epstein, it's a cover up. There's been no accountability, and that I think the American people voted for Trump because he promised us accountability and transparency. But I think, I'm still optimistic, actually. I think Trump is going about it in a very strategic, methodical way. And we've talked on The Truth virtually every Saturday about how he is systematically deconstructing the deep state. But rather than going in and confronting it head on, he is doing it very cleverly.
Yes.
Tulsi Gabbard exposed Russia, Russia, Russia. Now I think the 2020 election, the facts are going to come out, and we'll find out that Georgia was not the only swing state that had the election stolen from him.
Well,
And
I mean, Trump's also saying there's no Epstein list. How did Maxwell and Epstein get put in jail if there's no Epstein list?
well, I look, I'm totally on board with you on that. I'm personally, I'm not as concerned about the list. What I want to know is who put Epstein in business. I mean, we've got the U.S. attorney from the Southern District of Florida who said he was told to go light on Epstein because he was part of intelligence. I think that tells us everything. I want to know, what role did our own federal government play, or Mossad, or what do they call the British intelligence? M4, M2, what is it, Anthony? MI6. There you go. Well, what role did each of them, or any of them, or did all of them play a role in Epstein's enterprise? That's the information I want. And I'm probably not the in the majority of that, because I think there are a lot of voyeurs who want to see that list. My concern about the list, I'm sure that a list exists, but my concern is that you have the potential of dragging innocent people and ruining their lives and reputations by publishing a list when maybe they just flew on his plane or saw him socially and had nothing to do with the torrid activity. That's my hang up on the list. All right. Well, Reagan, we invited you on here. I'll let you have the last word. Tell us, what's your background? Why are you running for Congress? And anything that you'd like to say on the way out this morning.
I've had a strange background. After high school, I went to college for 5 years. I studied art and history in Paris, France. I was a runway model, shark and sea turtle research in the Florida Keys, mission work in Costa Rica. Then I moved out west, learned how to break, train, and show cutting horses on a national level. Ended up being women's ranch rodeo reserve world champion, U.S. cutting horse reserve world champion. I trained horses for Rex Tillerson while he was Trump's first Secretary of State back in 2016. And I'm here because I see the issues, I see the corruption, and I want to get this fixed. I love my country. I love the people of Georgia, and I just want to do what's right. My grandfather was the youngest person ever signed on to the FBI, and he always ingrained it in me. You do what's right no matter what the cost. And I think that is what our government needs right now. We need people that will stand up with that strength and conviction and just say, no more. No more.
So, Jackie, you got 17 Republicans running in that district. You're concerned that they will dilute each other's support and that maybe this flagrantly red seat would end up in blue hands. That could be a disaster. Is the special election a free for all, or does everyone win and the last person standing get the election? But somebody's got to win by 50% plus one, right?
Right.
So we're
That's
probably
that's
headed to a
probably
runoff.
Yeah, so with 21 candidates on the ballot, I would love to take a bet if someone would take it. I guarantee you there's going to be a runoff
Yeah.
on April 7th. So
Yeah.
someone take that
Yes.
bet. I want to make some money here.
No.
So
And then
so
they
the-
have to turn around and run again for the
Yes.
full term.
Right. Yeah.
yes, they have to. In fact, before the special election on March 10th, they're going to have to qualify for the primary so it's like they have to turn around. It's crazy. It's a lot of craziness, but I will tell you, the GOP volunteers, boots on the ground, are working really hard. We're working really hard. We're gonna actually the 14th district Republican Party is putting on 3 candidate forums. The first of which is January 31st. And we're going to invite all the candidates, all the Republican candidates. Of course, we're not crazy. And we're going to give them a chance to let people, hear from them. And at the end of that forum, we're going to have a straw poll. And whoever gets the top 8 candidates who win that, who get the top amount of the straw poll, will be going to the next one, which will be February 12th in Dalton. And then whoever wins that one, the top 3 are going to do a forum in Walker County. So I invite everybody to follow the 14th District GOP of Georgia on our Facebook page. And to get all the dates, we're keeping it super factual and informative, and talking about the chairman and things like that. I can tell you that Josh supporters and David Cross supporters and everybody, we are all working together in the 14th district to make sure Republican stays in this seat. So I think all I'm seeing is people locking arms and working together, and I'm proud to be leading them.
Well, I think if anybody can manage that complexity, it might just well be you, Jackie. So you keep fighting, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
I get the political reality of 17 Republican candidates, but for me, the more participation, the better. I am so excited to see people like Reagan Box running. And I'm also happy that Colton Moore, who I think is Marjorie Taylor Greene in a man's body, he's fearless, and he's really taken on the power structure. I admire that. And Reagan, you're out there fighting the good fight too. So I hope you, I wish you all well. And thank you, Peaches, for letting me be a part of the program
You
today. And
did great.
well, I had a great time with you lovely ladies, and you're patriots, and we don't always agree on everything, but we do agree on loving the flag and this country. And
Yes.
that's what it's all about.